Hello, St. Mark's, and welcome, Reverend Gail Jack and St. Stephen's AME Zion Church. Thank you for joining us on this journey and this new series related to spiritual music. Spirituals have a special place in my heart. However, it didn't happen easily for me. As a kid, I listened to the music and the pronunciation of the words, and many times I felt embarrassment and thought that the pronunciation was uneducated and harkened back to a time when African Americans were enslaved and not allowed to have the dignity of their expressions. But it took Jester Harrison, an arranger of spiritual music, to help me realize that the language is actually a recording of some of our historical languages, including Gullah, where a lot of the language comes from. The Gullah people are on the seacoast islands along the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida. And Jester Harrison told my classmates and me, this is the pronunciation, and he was very adamant about using that correct pronunciation. So I eventually learned to love the different nuances, the different layers, the different interesting connotations that this genre of music has. Many times people think that some of the songs have double meanings. I came to learn that they have much more than just double meanings. They have multiple meanings. The song that I'm singing today is Steal Away. And Steal Away is a traditional song that a lot of people think is either asking to steal away in secret, in stealth, to a camp meeting or a religious service, or maybe stealing away to talk about insurrection, or steal away to actually leave slavery. A lot of that brings to mind the life and actions of Nat Turner, who was an enslaved man in the early 1800s in Southampton, Virginia. He was a young man and was very religious and saw a lot of signs in nature, whether it was in the skies or in the color of the sun or an eclipse of some sort. He saw signs and read into those signs a discussion that, or words that were coming to him, or messages that were coming to him directly from God or from Christ. In Steal Away, the part of the song that is most impactful to me is the verse. My Lord, he calls me by the lightning or the thunder, and the trumpet sounds within my soul. That is expressing an intimacy that I think is unique to a lot of religious songs. It's not saying my Lord calls us, my Lord calls people. It's calling me. It's directly me. It's intimate. And that intimacy is striking. It's a song that the words suggest that you're doing things in secret, that you're not wanting other people to hear, that this is the message that you're telling others, or you're telling yourself, or you're just expressing what's happening. So it's a little hard for me to believe that this song was sung and the meaning, which is so crystal clear to me, wasn't picked up by slave owners as well. So it's to me a very personal song, and it is a call to action. Nat Turner gathered with some enslaved people and decided to revolt. They started an insurrection, and he was eventually jailed and tried. And during his time waiting for his trial, he spoke to his lawyers and others about how he came to that insurrection moment, that movement of protestation that became very physical and real. He says that he heard loud sounds in the sky, so thunder, and that was, in his interpretation, God speaking to him to rise up and use the weapons of his enslavers to free himself and others. So the band of enslaved people, as well as free African Americans, got together and they went door to door to different farms and homes and killed people in their homes and freed slaves as they went along. It was about 70 people, which was a mixture of enslaved people and African Americans who were free. And eventually a militia was formed. The insurrection was thwarted, and instead of killing everyone, some were killed, a lot of them were brought to trial. So while Nat Turner was waiting for the trial, his biography was taken word for word. And he was eventually hung and killed after being found guilty based on his confession that he killed one woman using a fence post. But a lot of the song in Steal Away is attributed to the actions of Nat Turner. After his insurrection was put down, the word went throughout the South. There was fear that other African Americans were revolting, and people were indiscriminately killed with no reason, just the fear itself. And codes were enacted to prevent African Americans from gathering without permission or having a sponsor white person present for any gathering, whether it's religious or any other reason, recreational. The laws were enacted that African Americans could not be taught to read. And this is not just enslaved African Americans, but also African Americans who were free. They could not be taught. They could not become educated. That prohibition on education became significant in the philanthropic Northerners' actions after the Civil War, with the creation of universities designed specifically to educate African Americans. Fisk University was one of those early historically Black universities, which just happens to be a university that John Lewis attended and learned his nonviolent theologies and practices and put them into place with lunch counter protests and the philosophies taught by Reverend Lawson. And so Steal Away, for me, brings all of those different layers out and is just a powerful song. I think of it as an introit to religious services, and it's also very personal, a private call to action. It's saying if you see something that's wrong, that's not right, and you know that it's not, you're called to action. It's a mandate that you get involved, that you call out the inequities, the disproportionalities in society. Steal away. Steal away to Jesus. Steal away. Steal away, steal away, steal away to Jesus. Steal away, 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 ste me by the thunder. The trumpet sounds within my soul. I ain't got long to stay here. Steal away, steal away, steal away to Jesus. Steal away, steal away home. I ain't got long to stay here. My Lord, He calls me by the lightning. The trumpet sounds within my soul. I ain't got long to stay here. Steal away, steal away, steal